Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Hey, we've got a heating issue, a cooling issue. So I've got Jim Triple here, and we got Larry, aka Slim Toes. And the goal is, hey, you know what? Lead by example. I'm going to have my furnace serviced. It had a couple of issues. These guys said, you know what, George, even though you do a good job, right? I do a good job, right? Okay. You didn't do it well enough, and they're going to walk you through some of the maintenance that needs to be done on your air conditioning coil and other equipment. They're going to show you some good filters. My bad filter. Yes. Anyway, so let's have a little bit of fun. They're going to walk you through this, and if you have any questions, their information is going to be down below. Reach out to them direct. They are also on our vetted contractors list at bpcontractors.com. So if you have any questions, let us know. In the meantime, hey guys, let's get the show on the road.
All right. Let's get going. So we're going to just start with how to properly get ready to do an inspection on your furnace. First thing you got to do is you got to turn off the power, find your breaker, find your switch, kill the power to your furnace. Once the power's off, then you can start unscrewing the doors and getting the things ready. So we've taken a few of these screws out already. So Slim Toaster, he's going to start here with the bottom panel, getting that one off, getting that out of the way, and then we'll see what the bottom of the furnace looks like. As far as maintenance by George, it's a bit dirty. So we're going to need to clean some of this stuff out down here.
How often should somebody have you guys come in and maintain like this?
We would recommend, if you have, like George does, a system that is heating and cooling. Right before the cooling season, we come in and prep it for cooling. At the end of summer, right before heating season starts, we come in and we prep everything for heating. So if you have a dual system with heating and air conditioning, you should do it prior to heating season, prior to cooling season. If you just have regular furnace, then we would just recommend it the fall. Just a checkup right before you go into the heating season.
So when the heating season comes around, you guys get super busy?
Yes.
Okay, and that's because when the demand starts to come on what we call the heat exchanger, which is that big tank that the fire blows into and the air blows around it, those tend to fail or become a failure point at that time. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Your system's a little bit different here because you have a heat pump system. So we'll see when we get into this top part here. So Larry's going to unscrew and get the filters out first, and we're going to show you the filters here.
And how often should they replace a filter?
So this filter right here, so let's take that out of there, Toaster. Let's see what it looks like. What a filter should look like.
Okay.
So there's brand new, here's used. These are just 1-inch thick filters. These filters with this type of system should be changed once a month.
Okay.
If you have
the 4-inch thick,
the 4-inch filters, you can go every 3 to 4 months. With those, I wouldn't recommend going beyond 4 months.
Okay,
we suggest 3 months. If you have pets, 3 months definitely, because the pet hair is going to build up into this. So you can see the dirt from the area. You know, you've got some rockeries out front and some gravel and things like that, so you get a little bit of dust into the garage. The back side of your filter, it's very hard to notice. I don't know if you can see this in there, but there's little wires. You can see the wires in here.
Yep.
So you want to make sure when you put your filters that your airflow is going the proper direction. These wires right here need to be going with the airflow so that the filter doesn't start to pull apart and get sucked down into the furnace or onto your coil or anything. These wires are your reinforcement wires to make sure your filter stays in place. So very important to look for the airflow arrows, your airflow arrow here, and make sure your filter is going the right direction with that.
So really good question. A lot of folks, you know, I will get a call and say, hey, George, how can I tell which way the air flows? It's really hard to tell, you know, and, you know, they're like, hey, you know, can I put my hand in there? Or is there a way to tell from the outside which way should my air flow? Now, naturally, I put a Sharpie to help me.
Yeah, so your air filter is going to be on your return air side, coming back in and returning to your furnace. So you want to make sure that when you see this, and your returner, that's where your coil's at, or that's where your fan's at, and that's generally the side where your filter is going to be at. So your filters, the airflow are going to point back to the furnace.
Perfect.
So if it's on the bottom, it would point up to the furnace. On the top, we're pointing back down into the furnace.
Perfect.
Okay. So now we'll get the rest of the cover off here.
Should somebody be, if they're not a technically experienced person, should they be getting into where we are right
No,
now?
if you're not a mechanically inclined, comfortable person,
Yeah.
don't attempt to try to do this yourself.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that can be damaged very easily. So you have a coil cover on here that is protecting the center part of your coil. This is where the air is coming down through here. So we're pulling the air down through here. We're going across this side of the coil here and this side over here. Let's take this one off also, Toaster. This is where the air is coming down from your house and across this coil. So we're picking up the particulates coming out of the house before we get into the furnace, but you can see the dust and the dirt that's going right across here, down through this blower and back into the house. So this is why we need to maintain and keep this clean. This is sort of like, if you think of the radiator on your car, if you take and you make your radiator, or if you cover your radiator, it has less area to cool your car, right? So your car's not going to run as efficiently. That's the same thing with your air conditioning. In your case, George, this is heating and air conditioning.
Right.
This dirt and gook that's right here, when we go to fire this thing off in heating mode here in the next few months, all of that dirt that's on there, this coil gets super hot, is going to burn that dust, and you're going to get a not friendly smell in your house from that burning dust. So this is why we want to do this at the end of the cooling season prior to heating season, is to come in here and make sure we clean that off before we go back into the heating season, so we don't run into those issues with the burning dust smell and things like that. So that right there is the air's drawing down through. It's going across these coils on each side, down right here through the blower, and right out the bottom and into the heat ducts and into the house.
Perfect. Okay.
So what we do on these ones, generally to start out with, we'll give it a little bit of a vacuum. We'll take some compressed air. We'll blow a little bit of air across this stuff and get it out. We don't want to blow too much dust around, so we try to vacuum as much as possible. But we'll just take a little bit of air and just blow some of the stuff off the sides that we can't really get the vacuum cleaner into, because we have to be very careful not to damage the coils on this. So we won't want to touch those coils. If we do, we want to be very careful, because if you bend them over, now that portion of the coil is no longer effective. He's done a vacuum job just to get the big main pieces of the dirt and all that out of there now. So we're going to blow a little bit of the stuff out very lightly with the air into some of the control areas where you can't really get in there good with a vacuum cleaner. So we're just going to blow a little bit of the dust out of there, get some of that stuff out. And then we're going to go with our coil cleaner solutions. We have two different types. We have what's called a rinse and a non-rinse one. So we're just going to show both of them. So you can see the different styles. One is a solution that we make up. We buy the concentrate from the supply house. The other one comes in a can that we get from the supply house. It's sort of a foamy cleaner. They both work very well. In your case, George, what we're going to do is we're going to take this and cut this pipe off here so we can rinse the dirt back in, so we can show you what this looks like when this is clean. So right now it's just running straight water right out of it, right?
Okay.
But when we cut this, we spray the cleaner, and we're going to drain this into a bucket just to show you how much dirt is actually built up into those coils, because sometimes it's a little bit hard to see, but when you see that in the bucket, it really changes the perspective of things. Yeah. In here, there's some pretty good dirt buildup. You can see where the coils right here, I don't know if you can see that, George, where I'm pointing right here. So that is dented in a little bit. So at some point, somebody did come in and work on this a little bit. And they maybe had their hand in there a little bit too far and dented those coils. So
And that's going to impede the traffic or the
airflow. Yeah.
The cooling and the heating capacity. And the other thing is, if they get dented too far, they can create refrigerant leaks over time.
Is there a way to fix that?
There's a coil comb that you can use, that we use on outdoor units. It's very hard to do on an indoor unit like this, but we can straighten those out as best we can. They'll never get back to perfect, but we can get them back so they're at least useful.
Okay.
So here's one of the solutions. Is we have just a basic, coil cleaner that we get from our supplier. This stuff here, I would not recommend homeowners using this on their own. Because you need to make sure that you get this flushed out very clean and flush the system out very well. So I wouldn't recommend that homeowners use the coil cleaners and things like that on their own, unless you're very, very meticulous person to do that, because this does make a bit of a mess. And then we've got our other solution here, and this is one that we buy the concentrate, and then Toaster mixes it up, and then he sprays all this stuff all over everything and does that. And so we use this for indoor and outdoor units to clean the coils. And we'll show on the outdoor unit a little bit later how we can do that on outdoor units to keep your coils clean and make sure you don't have a lot of dust and debris and buildup, things like that. So go ahead, Toaster. So we can see here, George,
Okay.
there's a little bit of play in where that filter goes, right?
Right.
When we slide it in. It's not perfect. This isn't, a hospital clean room, right? But the air is going to blow by there. So if your filter's dirty, that air is going to take the path of least resistance, right? So that's around the filter. That's in these areas here, and that's where it's going to get pulled by. So if our filter's nice and clean, then that air is going to flow through the filter nicely. If that filter is dirty and the air doesn't flow through it well, it's going to start to go around the filter. And one of the things for Toaster and I that we see are things like this right here. When we start to see the dirt on the edges, we know that that is drawing through there and it's not coming down here. It's actually drawing air from your garage because there's less resistance on this door than there is coming through that filter when it gets real dirty.
Gotcha.
So we want to maintain that. You got the gaskets to go around, so we always want to make sure when we do these too, we'll clean all these gaskets up to make sure that it makes a nice good seal with the furnace also. And then the doors, you can see here, we've got a pretty good buildup of dirt. That's 100% normal.
Okay.
On almost every furnace that we service. Unless somebody comes out here once a month and takes their doors off and vacuums their furnace, you're going to just naturally get that sort of stuff. But that's some of the stuff that we like to take care of. We clean the backside out. I was going to show that real quick, Toaster. He sort of cleaned it already. But you can see here, so the dirt and things like that, right?
The shiny in there, right?
Yeah, he just started cleaning this one up right here a little bit, and so he'll take this, wipe this down, and then he'll clean it up with some of the solution that we have to keep the doors clean and things like that. So that's not going back into the house.
Right on.
So you can see our solution is working very well. It's starting to dissipate around. The coils right here now, we can see that they're much shinier than they were before. We're going to go through this here in just a second, and we're going to take our little water solution and our bottle, and then he's going to spray that down with the water to now rinse everything out of the coil. So we've gone through like stage 1 of the car wash. We've got the big chunks off. We've gone through the sudsy part. Now we're going to go through the rinse cycle of the car wash, so to speak,
Okay.
on the coils for the furnace here. So
Interesting. So when somebody gets a detailed furnace cleaning like this, or when somebody comes out to service a furnace, if they're in and out in say like 15, 20 minutes, they probably didn't do the job that somebody's being led to believe that they're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
This is start to finish is an hour minimum of just this portion of the cleaning. So, we've got a lot of prep work, we got a lot of the vacuuming, things like that, but just this portion right here, when we get through with the whole thing and we finalize it, that should be relatively close to an hour. To make sure it's good and clean. We flush the system back out like we're going to do right here. We've got the bucket sort of set up. So we can see some of this water as it starts going through, just go spray like crazy, and we'll just overdo this one. So right now he's spraying that furnace, spraying those coils, getting lots of water across that to flush this system out. That water is going to naturally go down into this bottom pan right here. Once it gets into that pan, then it comes out here into the drain.
You want to get a picture right there? You can see how dirty the water's coming out at this moment.
This is just the beginning portion.
This is the beginning portion.
So you can see that is not something you would put into the water glass and serve at the dinner table.
So this is definitely not bring in the garden hose and let it rip.
You can, what we don't want to do is we don't want to get a lot of water in the insulation and in the interior part of the furnace. They're not designed to have water flowing down into the blower assemblies. That's why we use these. It's it takes a wee bit longer, but we're not going to damage any of the equipment by overdoing it and flooding it with water. So now we're going to we've got a couple different brushes here. just a very basic paintbrush, and then a little bit more of a scrub brush type. So this is going to be a little bit stiffer. He's going to go in between the coils with this. He's going to go around the controls and things like that with this. So he's going to give this a little bit of scrape. We're going to spray this down one more time. We're going to rinse it one final time.
So.
That is pretty much, I think that's fugly.
It's
that's fugly. All right, well, that's why we do this.
The exterior stuff, not that big of a deal other than just a look, right? The inside behind these panels are another set of coils. So this is where it either discharges the heat or it discharges that cooling when we're in either heating or cooling mode as it goes through all these coils. We just want to use a garden hose to rinse them off. We're not trying to blast it because with that water pressure we can actually bend those coils and create damage to the unit. A different solution that we use, which is a rinse off solution, we're going to get this going out here, spray that down, let it sit for a little bit, and then rinse that off. We spray it down here on the fan blades also. They get a little bit built up, so we want to keep the fan blades clean. It actually will quiet down your unit. Really? So if there's things that you start to get built up on your fan blades, the unit will get louder. So if they're nice and clean, it's a quieter system. Different style of coils from different manufacturers. So these coils are round and they've got all sorts of little spiky bits on them. Then they wrap the unit with these coils. Some of the other coils on the other types of units look just like the coils on the indoor unit. So these ones that are the spun ones that are like that, we can't get in there. We don't want to pop these off, and because there's just too many areas for us to bend those coils over to scrub them. If this had the same type of a system that we saw on the inside for the coils on this unit, we would clean those the same way we did inside, but this is a different kind of a coil here. So this is a rinse, clean exterior, and scrub exterior only. We don't want to damage the coils on this on the inside.
Okay, everybody. Key thing is, even myself, you got to maintain your equipment. I obviously have to do a better maintenance job outside. I got a C+, C- ish. Inside, I got a B+, which is really good. Look, Larry's a great guy. He's on our vetted contractor list. Make sure you check it out. We'll also put his information down below. Make sure you give us a like, and make sure you give him a like.
Yeah.
Larry's a likable guy.
Well,
anyway.
Appreciate that.
Anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And again, ask Larry, get on their calendar, get on their annual maintenance schedule so that your system is working well. And because, you know what, you only check it as often as you want to save your family. If you have a gas one, heat exchangers give off.
Heat exchangers give off carbon monoxide when they start to fail, which then gets into your home. And well, as we all know, that's not safe for the family.
That's right. It's called the silent killer. It bonds to your oxygen or into your blood 1,000, 10,000 times easier. It's called the silent killer. It's odorless, tasteless, and colorless. You could be blowing it around, have no idea. You just one day, well, you just don't wake up. There you go.
Yeah.
Be safe. In the meantime, I'll see you guys on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Have a good one.